Christopher, if I could jump in too. He brought up two good points from the environmental perspective as well with this. When he mentioned the train traffic going, in and out into the other cities, part of what will be required for environmental clearance for any of these port sites is to consider the impacts not just of the actual footprint itself, but of the operation for the traffic going in and out of that area as well. So when he talked about, increased rail traffic due to some of these operations, increased truck traffic going in and out, the impacts to the neighboring communities is something that has to be taken into consideration as well. So it's not just isolated to the actual footprint of the port site itself. And then when he brought up the general cargo and possible container terminal on the other side of the creek there, that's something else that would need to be discussed as you talk about implementation and moving forward. Sort of the cost of developing that side, but then also that is where the higher concentration of your environmental impacts in terms of the wetlands, and you get into some costly mitigation with that as well. So that's something else that kind of helps with that consideration, knowing that that's something that's in the longer term, that's something that could be done, at another location. And so is that something that that we want to do for this area, in Jefferson County, or is that something we want to do elsewhere and not get into that type of mitigation to that magnitude? So that's something else in terms of having sort of that flexibility with going forward and what it is we want to move forward with. So that would be some decisions to be made before moving ahead, because that would play a large role in, if that area was not to be developed in any in the near term, that significantly reduces the amount of work, to be quite honest with you, in terms of the permitting and the agency concerns and things like that. So that's something to kind of take into account as you're looking at the cost and the benefit and everything that you need to do to make it happen. So.
Right, Barbara, and that's a good point on that is that this area we've been calling the thumb, south of Rotten Creek, is that area is, is vegetated, it's got wetlands, and it's got things that we would avoid unless we had a real strong need to go in there. And you've seen some earlier iterations. We had all kinds of liquid going on in here and other things, and we contracted the footprint of this whole development a bit to accommodate some of the concerns. So looking at, from a phasing standpoint, looking at Herculaneum, the first thing that goes in of primary importance is the dry bulk and some of the road access, because dry bulk terminal is generally going to be truck in cargo, truck in barge out, and it needs improved roads, and that's part of the initial phases. At the same time, and within the same time frame, Doe Run will be consolidating parcels and will be reconfiguring their plant site. And we're looking at a total cost of about $25.4 million for not including what Doe Run Corporation is investing, but just to stand up this phase one at Herculaneum. That would give you a dry bulk public terminal with a capability of moving 1.3 million tons per year. Pretty nice little facility. Yes, sir.
That doesn't include any ground cost or infrastructure either?
No land improvement. No land. I'm sorry. No property costs. Yes. It does include some fill rating and the actual ground improvements, but not the land costs.
Okay.
So going into phase two, and that's in the 6 to 11 year time frame, 6 to 10 years or so. We're looking at now is taking some of those upland sites that have been contaminated and been purchased by Doe Run Company, leveling them, starting to prepare them. The area that we're showing as 2A there is a hill presently, limestone hill like most of the hills around here. We would cap it. What I mean is we would take the top off of it and use that as borrow to do some capping down in where you see 2B, and that's following demolition of some of the Doe Run facility, and at the same time be leveling and preparing those sites. In this phase 2, Doe Run Corporation will complete the operation of consolidating their facility. They will be again one of the primary users of the road complex in there. And in phase 2 for Herculaneum, a little bit smaller, 21 million, mostly earthwork. But it's getting prepared for phase 3, which is the big piece here, where we're going in with the dry bulk silo grain facility. And again, it uses rail or truck in support of local agriculture for export of ag products out by the river. At the same time, we'll be leveling, clearing, and capping the site to the south where that's currently the slag pile. And this is fairly important because there's somewhat of a junction here in the planning. You could use it the way it is, and if you see down here, essentially there's a good-sized piece of just open real estate that can be leveled and capped, and it's got rail access that comes right through here. And this could be used as either unloading and loading tracks for unitized cargo, or for carload cargo, or for just storage tracks in support of the dry bulk grain facility. Or it could be a combination terminal that could, at this point, support some rail-dependent warehousing. Or we could go forward and do the rail-dependent warehousing at a later time. So let's see. Go back to phase 3. Total cost is $66.4 million. Yes.
On these costs, now, this is the total development cost, but it's not what the port would have to do if they're going to lease the ground to, so really, our cost, if we was the port, would be the ground cost.
Right, and we obviously have a very detailed cost breakdown in the report that I didn't want to put everyone to sleep after dinner. Yeah.